be a papa.
The news is out, our biggest kept secret this year. We've not told anyone for 3 months, but we are expecting a baby towards the end of the year. We've been so excited to share the news. We obviously wanted to wait to make sure everything was going the way we wished it would go and that the baby was growing happily and healthily. So we didn't even tell our families until the 3-month marker, which was basically straight after our very first ultrasound, where we got to see our baby for the first time on the screens.
We've been trying for over a year and we've been ready for this moment for quite a long time now.
We've been ready for a long, long time,
Yeah.
even before we were married, because we love kids and we always talked about the day we'd have our own children. But we didn't start trying till after our
Bali trip.
like our dream vacation to Bali was everything we'd ever wanted, and we thought, you know what, now is the right time when we come back home.
After 2 years of marriage.
So we were almost 2 years married.
Yeah.
So I was actually 30 when we started trying, and I quite naively thought that once we did start trying that it would be quite easy to have a baby, but there are a lot of things that I learned along the way. So after it wasn't happening for a while, and when it got to the 1 year marker, that's when we decided to go back to our GP and just ask if there's anything that they can do to just see if everything's healthy in me and Stephan as well. So then we did a bunch of tests, but I'll be making a separate video on our whole trying to conceive journey, because I feel like I can go into depth a bit more there. And then also one thing I found really helpful was listening to other women on YouTube who were trying to conceive, who were also over 30 like me. And I found that it was like a little support system of these girls that I didn't even know, but just hearing them speak kind of helped me feel a bit less lonely, especially as I couldn't talk to my family because I didn't want them to worry, and just I wanted to keep it
pressure or anything.
Yeah, I didn't want that pressure, and also it was a journey that we were going through, and it was very much like a part of our marriage. I feel like a season of our marriage where we were just trying to have a baby. So I'll be doing a separate video on that, but to summarize, there wasn't anything majorly wrong with either of us. It was just a small change, and there are a few things that I did to help get back on track, and then we got the happy news. So we found out in February this year, so it was February the 24th. Basically, since January this year, I decided that I would start tracking my ovulation, because it occurred to me that I might not be ovulating at all, which might be why I'm not getting pregnant. And I read a blog actually, and there was a link to a really cheap set of ovulation tests, not the digital kind, just the strip tests. And you can get them in the bulk pack from eBay, and I think it was just a few pounds, and I'll link it below as well, but it was so helpful, and I still have tons left over, so it's something that you can keep using and you don't have to worry, because with the digital test they're so expensive and you probably wouldn't want to use those as frequently. So round about the time that I thought I was ovulating in January and February, I took these ovulation tests daily, and I would see how strong the line came up to show me whether I was actually ovulating or not. And I did get a very strong positive in January, and I also got a very strong positive in February. So after 2 weeks from the positive ovulation...
Ovulation.
all the advice online and all of... Bob, don't do this. Okay.
Go on.
So all the advice online and all the helpful vlogs and things I was watching always said to wait exactly 2 weeks from your ovulation to see if you have any early signs and symptoms of pregnancy, or the chance that you could be pregnant, but not to take any type of pregnancy test until the 2 weeks were over. So obviously I was monitoring how I was feeling. I was paying special attention to see if there were any changes in my body. But in the back of my mind, because I was so used to getting a negative test result every month for a year and 3 months, I was also skeptical. So if I did notice like a slight body change, I'd just be like, oh, it's just nothing, or oh, it's just my period coming and this is just like a weird thing. So Stephan was the first...
Yeah, I was the first one. I said that you were glowing.
But the way he said it, I was just like, yeah, right.
But that was the only time I said that she was glowing. And you also had those 2 beautiful spots.
Yeah. I usually get some pimples like further up on my cheeks, especially just before my period comes every month. It's usually right around here or sometimes on my forehead as well, actually.
Yeah, but this time it was here.
And this time, my face was really clear.
Yeah,
like
it was clear.
Stupidly clear.
She was glowing.
But I had a really big pimple, like towards my jawline, so kind of around here and here on both sides. I never get any spots around here, so I thought that was a bit weird.
And I knew.
And I just thought, oh, like, it's just weird hormones and my period's gonna come in the next week or so. That was the first thing I noticed, other than the fact that he said I was glowing.
I even said, like, I think you're pregnant, and I was like touching your belly.
Yeah. But
And
that
then you were like, stop it.
But that you have said before, and then obviously you get disappointed when you take a pregnancy test and you're not pregnant, and then it's just like, because I felt like I'd be like making you sad as well. Yeah. So I'd like really learned not to get my hopes up, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And then the only other symptom I had that early on was pain down like the side of my boobs, so like kind of like shooting pains. They kind of started in my armpit and they would just be down the sides only, and I noticed that when I would change and stuff I would feel uncomfortable. See, this is why it's hard to actually know whether you're pregnant or not, because a lot of these symptoms, or the ones I talk about, and there's a few others as well, they're really similar to how you feel before your period starts every month. So it's really easy to talk yourself out of the fact that you might be pregnant, because you're like, well, I could be, but it's probably just, you know, normal. I was kind of in that mentality and headspace, especially because of our journey. Yeah. And then I decided there was another one. I had one more symptom. It was that my pee, no matter how much water I drank, my pee would just not stop being really yellow. And I remember that was so weird. And it was the only time I'd ever noticed that happening, because I was drinking a lot of water and it was just not getting any lighter. Sorry, too much information. So I had 3 really early pregnancy symptoms overall, and that's what they were. When I ordered the ovulation tests, they also sent through some strip pregnancy tests. So this is just literally a piece of, like, a little swab of paper, and you have to dip it in your pee and then wait for a while and see if there's 2 lines or 1 line, and 2 lines mean you're pregnant, no matter how faint that line is. And I thought, let me just take this test first before I start breaking out my digital tests, because again, they're more expensive.
We've used so many of them.
And we've been buying them, So the night before the 24th, so the 23rd night, because I had a inkling with my symptoms and everything, and then I just got curious. I took the stick test. First of all, there were 2 lines, but it didn't register in my mind that I was pregnant, because the second line was really faint. And I know they say, like, it doesn't matter how faint the line is, but it was so faint. It was barely there. It wasn't enough for me. Like, I felt like I had to see pregnant or not pregnant to actually know, and for my brain to just compute what the result was. So I thought, let me just go to bed.
I wouldn't have been able to sleep.
I would probably have been 80% thinking, oh, I'm not pregnant. Which is why I managed to sleep fine and everything. But the next day I thought, I'll wake up, I'll use my first morning pee, which they recommend that you use. And then I decided to use one of our digital tests. I wanted to take it and just take it and process if I wasn't pregnant, because it's always, each month that goes on, it just gets a bit harder. So I put like the bathroom fan on, I like made noise, I tried to do so many things, and then I took the test, and obviously you have to lay it flat and wait for it to do its thing and like figure out if, so what it's measuring is the pregnancy hormone in your urine, which is called HCG, which is what was making my urine so yellow. So I took the test, I laid it flat, and then I was just like waiting in the bathroom for it to go. Or usually it takes 3 minutes to figure out if you're pregnant or not, and it has a little timer that just keeps going, and it feels like the longest time when you're waiting for it. But it didn't even take 3 minutes, and I looked at the test because I just couldn't keep my eyes away, and pregnant popped up, and I just stared at it for a long time because I was so shocked, even though it's something that we've been trying for and like praying for and wishing for. To see it there was really surreal. And I actually made a vision board in January at the beginning of the year of things that I wished for my life and our joint life, and obviously becoming pregnant was one of them. Wait, I can't breathe again. So one of the things I had on my vision board was a positive pregnancy test result of the exact digital test that I had. It was a clear blue one. So that's something that I would have been looking at like pretty much every day for a whole month up until that point. So to see it was really surreal in real life, and it took me a while to register that what I was looking at was a real life pregnancy test. But then it was just a rush of gratefulness and just I was so overwhelmed, and it was like a massive relief as well. That I know there are many families and many women that wait years, but all we know is of our experience. So our 1 year and 3 months felt like a long time for us because I guess we expected it sooner. So to see good news after waiting like
it
we
makes
had,
it so worth it though. Now we know what the reason why it's a miracle.
it's so true. Like if we got pregnant straight away, it would have been like, okay, so we're pregnant, and I don't think we would have felt that gratefulness and that like sacredness around this new life as much as we do feel now. Like we were both so overwhelmed, and obviously there were tears. I will insert a clip of the video I took because I wanted to record it more for our memories. Yeah, so first of all, there's my video where I found out, and then there's another video where I tell Stephan. So how I tell you is, obviously I couldn't wait. I had to tell him like that same day, same morning. But we were going through a bit of a tough time because of coronavirus and everything. Obviously we hadn't seen family properly for a while. So there was like the struggle of feeling a bit alone. But then Stephan's mum
was in hospital as well. She was going through COVID, so she was in a very good state. She was at a very low point, but then
she was in hospital for a week.
Yeah, a week and a half.
Yeah, and
because she's a cancer patient, it wasn't obviously good news that she had coronavirus. But she's a strong woman, so we still had faith.
Yeah, but I could see like daily, I could see on, especially because he's like quite a strong emotional support for his parents, so I could see each day, because he's the one that speaks to the doctors and then relays information and things, so it was hard for me to see him go through that. But then also when I found out I was pregnant, because by then we were at really like it was hard, he was really up, like down, he wasn't quite himself. I was even like, should I even tell him now, because he's just got too much on his mind. But in my heart, I couldn't keep it with me I had to tell him. So
but the next day, like, we got good news from the doctor as well in the morning.
The same day,
literally the same day. Yeah. The doctor said we can see in her blood virus. Yeah,
like it was the first time they said something positive had happened.
Yeah, so they could see that the virus is going away from her blood, so which was really good news. And that was the first positive factor that we saw within her health. And then, it gave her a bit of happiness within that during that day.
Yeah, so how I told Stephan was, I took a bit of time to just process on my own, get ready slowly in the bedroom. He was just in here, I don't know, probably working or something. And then I decided the pregnancy test obviously said pregnant. And while I was in the bathroom, it had popped up with the weeks, because we had the weeks indicator on it. So as I was staring at it, it said 2 to 3 weeks. It just popped up 2 to 3 weeks. I asked Stephan to make me a cup of tea.
Yeah.
I asked him to make me a cup of tea, and I put the stick just on like the lower shelf of our tea cupboard. But I didn't think, because of his height, that he might not see it straight away. It. So yeah, he did miss it the first time, and I had to kind of tell him to look again. I put my hand
right, like if you see in the video, I put my hand right past through it, and I didn't see it.
Making a cup of tea is like something you can do on autopilot, so he knows where my mug is.
Yeah, I never pay attention to what's around. Like, so in my mind it's like mug. So I go into the mug and I don't focus on anything around it.
Yeah, so he was just he's probably thinking about other things as well. He just opened the cupboard, went for the mug, and he didn't see, he went right past it. But I asked him to make me a cup of tea. I hid it in there. I set the camera up and I did all of that. I made sure I set the camera up and everything and got it rolling somewhere kind of in the corner and discreet. Before I asked you, in both our videos, by the way, we will have replaced most of it with some overlaying music, just because on my video, the bathroom fan is really loud, you can't hear anything else, so there would have been no point leaving that on. And then in Stephan's video, because he's making me a cup of tea, the kettle is on really loud, so you can't hear anything. So there will be some music overlaying. Yeah. And do you want to talk about like how you felt when you saw it?
I went through a really hard week, so getting those two massive, beautiful news, it just showed that it was more than a miracle to me, and as much as I was happy, everything just burst out. It was like a relief to me.
I think relief is the main emotion we felt that day.
And you just realize God is great.
And especially because I thought if this doesn't work out for me, by November this year, they were going to start me on IVF. And I just thought, there's no way that I just had a strong feeling that that's not meant for me. Like, that's not part of my journey. And I knew that it's just going to happen within this time period between now and November, but I just didn't know when.
Faith is key, basically.
Yeah.
Like, we kept so much faith in God. And I always looked into one quote that I always read every day. Even
your favorite quote?
Yeah. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge Him, and He will make your path straight. So in my head is like, just have faith in God, and when it's the right time, you will have everything.
Yeah, like even if you don't understand or you don't know why something's happening,
there's always a reason. It's
kind of a way to just surrender all of that and just say, it's kind of like let go and just let God. So it's just kind of giving up your control and like you're like, oh my God, I have to make this happen, and putting all that pressure on yourself. It's just a nice way to be able to mentally, obviously that's not saying you don't try in life. You do try and you work towards things that you want and your goals, but it comes to a point that you know that you can only do so much, and then there's like a higher power that takes over. And now I have this beautiful life growing inside of me, which is a complete miracle. I think becoming pregnant and having children is probably the only miracle, the only everyday miracle that happens, that we take for granted. I definitely don't take it for granted now.
Yeah, if we were pregnant during the first month, like, we wouldn't have felt this strong about it.
We feel so much like gratitude. It's crazy. So I think we've talked enough.